Welcome to the Cyber Edge. I'm Steve May and today we're telling a story, the TurboTax story for cybersecurity and compliance. That's right, we're talking about how organizations can now approach CMMC and cybersecurity with a guided, simplified, and step-by-step process. With me today is Rob Sims, the visionary leader behind the Alchemy Compliance Enclave, aka ACE or ACE. ACE is an automated compliance platform that can take a small or a mid-sized organization from CRM all the way to CMMC Level 2 readiness in just 6 months. Rob, welcome. So let me ask, what was the inspiration behind ACE?
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate the opportunity to be on the call. Yes, believe it or not, the inspiration for ACE goes all the way back to the first time I decided to use TurboTax. I, like many Americans, have been successfully scared to death of taxes in the IRS. In fact, I still am. Happened to have got a letter from them just today. So not only was the fear of this unknown an issue, but all the forms and all the unfamiliar words and the gut bomb that always existed thinking, what did I forget? What did I miss? TurboTax came along, and instead of having me fill out a bunch of forms, they simply interviewed me with questions I knew the answers to, and they filled in the various boxes as required. They knew what was needed and where it needed to go. This is the same approach we've taken with ACE. First, we have built a secure data enclave where the required content from the company is stored. The enclave is built in a FedRAMP GCC high facility with all the government required technical specifications. Simply storing the content in the enclave allows the customers to inherit 90%, yes, 90% of the CMMC controls. The remaining 10% is our concierge service that mirrors the TurboTax approach by interviewing the client to determine what exists and what needs to be created. And at the end, they have everything they need to upload to the various government agency or auditor to get the compliant check.
That was great information. Thanks, Rob. So let's start with the big picture. Why are so many organizations just struggling with this cybersecurity compliance?
Well, the simple answer, Steve, is it's not core, right? Companies exist to produce products or services, not to be compliant to some standard. This doesn't necessarily negate the need for compliance to standards, but will always be just perceived as complex and challenging to any business because it isn't what they do. Just like with taxes, your tax advisor is not concerned about the complexity of the tax code because they live it, they walk it, they use it every day. And this is why ACE exists. We are that compliance advisor. We know what it takes because it is what we do. And we can generate the required information and documentation, guiding the customer through the whole process until completion. They can therefore then spend their time focused on their core business, all the while still achieving the compliance requirement.
That's awesome. So walk me through, what's the ACE process? What would be step one?
Well, step one starts with what do you have? Right? And just as importantly, what are you missing? So we start with a short questionnaire and an interview process to get a baseline of the current state of your business. We talk with the right people in your organization to find out where things stand, including any third-party vendors and what security controls you might be inheriting from them. If needed, we can also deploy a lightweight version of our Shield CRS platform on site, which will then scan your data and help us understand and see where maybe sensitive files might exist, how much content that you've got that's going to need to be migrated, and how much of it is duplicated or even outdated. In some cases, we can even find specific data types like CUI, Controlled Unclassified Information, or FCI, Federal Contract Information, early in the process, which then sets the stage for everything that follows.
So that makes sense. So basically, you have a roadmap now for everything that needs to be done. So what would be the next step in this process?
Yeah, this roadmap is a great analogy for it because, yes, as soon as we get to the end of the road, you're ready to go. And so step two is classification. This is where we start organizing your data based on what it actually contains. Using standards like NARA and DoD records management categories, we apply digital tags to the files, not just for organization, but also to control access based on the sensitivity of the content itself. That classification can be done manually with guidance from our team, or once again, we could bring in our Shield CRS engine, which uses AI to automatically tag and categorize the data. So the goal here is to go beyond basic file permissions and actually enforce controls that match the content of the file, not just its name or where it's located.
Okay, so once the documents are created and the data is classified, what would be the next step in getting the client ready for submission?
Well, we call this review and upload because at this point, everything has now come together. After we've completed all the required documents for the client, we sit down and review them together. This gives the client a chance to walk through each item, ask questions, make any adjustments if needed. And once they're comfortable and ready, they give us the final approval and signature. And at that point, the full set is complete and ready to go. We support the customer as they upload to the government portals. The client is officially submission ready. It is a clean, guided finish to what can otherwise be a pretty overwhelming process.
So this sounds like a huge win for the customer. Once they're compliant and everything is submitted, is there any more that they can take advantage of?
Well, Steve, this is where we use the words future ready, right? It's not just one and done. Let's get this process done and spend the money or whatever time associated to get the check mark. Because once everything is finalized and approved, we then help them with their uploading of documents into the enclave. And from there, they're not just compliant, they're positioned for long-term success. Their data becomes fully searchable through our AI-powered search engine with a built-in chat interface, making it incredibly easy to find and work with specific content. And because it's already in the system, that same data can now be used for other government requirements that may come, such as records management, or perhaps they need to do secure collaboration with their vendors, or maybe a system integrator that has them as a sub on one of their major contracts. Everything is there, everything is ready. It now means that once it was completed, it is now leverageable to other things that'll come in the future. It's all built in, for whatever is ready in the future.
Okay, so got a tough one. Do you have any real wins that you're allowed to share?
Absolutely. One of our recent customers was hit with a notice that they had less than 30 days to be fully compliant with the SCRM requirements. Now that's a pretty overwhelming timeline, especially for a small business that they are. So right after our initial call, we launched the ACE process, following the exact steps we just walked through. We set up a weekly cadence to keep them informed, aligned, and confident in the progress, step by step. We worked through the assessment, classification, documentation, and then submission. They were able to review and approve the materials, upload everything into the enclave, and hit the government deadline without disruption to their operation. They were incredibly relieved and grateful to have a team and a platform that took the complexity off of their shoulders. That's why we say ACE is the winning hand, because it just doesn't just check the boxes, it delivers real results when it matters most.
So you're going to have a booth at NC PACE. If I'm heading to NC PACE, what's happening at the Alchemi-Data booth?
Yeah, we're really excited to be attending the North Carolina PACE event. It is a fantastic opportunity to connect directly with the defense manufacturing and service community. We'll be there showcasing the Alchemy Compliance Enclave, giving live demos and having real conversations about how ACE can help companies simplify and accelerate their path to compliance. So whether you're just starting your compliance journey or you've hit a wall with the documentation, classification, or submission, we're there to show how ACE makes this entire process manageable and fast without all of the complexity. So if they're attending, by chance, stop by and see it in action. We're excited to show it to you.
All right, man. Rob, this is one of the most refreshing takes that I've heard on compliance. What ACE is doing for cybersecurity is what TurboTax did for taxes. You walk people through the mess and get them across that finish line. This is really awesome, Rob. Thank you for taking the time to share this with us.
Thank you, Steve. That's exactly what we're aiming for. Compliance shouldn't be a roadblock to doing good work. I really appreciate the chance to share what we're building with ACE and how we're helping businesses move forward with confidence.
Well, that's a wrap on the Cyber Edge. I'm Steve May. Catch Alchemi-Data at the North Carolina PACE 2025 Symposium on April 16th and 17th at the McKimmon Center in Raleigh, North Carolina. Stop by the Alchemy-Data booth to experience ACE for yourself.